Economics is the foundation of all realities, as economics is not just about money, but economics is about what make why humans perform certain actions. This might not make sense, especially as you think about economics in this what most people think about, which is through economic systems such as traditional, null, command, market, and mixed. However, as you look about how humans interact with these systems, that's what really is the focus of economics, is how humans interact with these systems. And it's based upon different marketing systems in our reality. So let's look at command. Let's look at command marketing. Command marketing is was one person controls all of the details about price setting, what is produced, and why it is produced, and where it's produced. So command economics and the person who is in charge of it will be the person in charge of the game. So they're the one to set these prices. So they're the one who's charging to guild for a couple ore. So that's them charging. So that's what they're charging for me to buy. They are also the ones who set I sell prices for the NPCs, such as my gallon catnip, which I can sell for 2 gil. So that is the command economy that we see in the game, which is really important to the game, but it doesn't, because of its really limited range of items that are being sold, it is sometimes not the best. We have another system that is separated, which is a more like a mixed economy, as it is a free market economy with certain regulations provided by the developers of the game. These regulations include that there are some items that cannot be sold in the game. For instance, like this precision golden book cannot be sold. So that is what he's doing, and they also set the tax prices, because as you're selling in certain areas, you will have certain tax rates depending on where you're selling, which can be viewed here. Most of the starter areas have normal tax rates right now, because those are the areas where we see a lot of people, especially for lower level items, being sold, as these are where all of the land and hand classes start out. So a lot of the higher areas have reduced, so they can try to get people. So you can sell stuff in his inventory. For instance, I can sell this bat fang for 2 pence if I want to. However, because this is an economy, it's sometimes not things, but you do see a lot of variety in the market boards, because there are people whose main focus in the game is to do the market boards, and there's some people who are not. For instance, I can almost bet that these 170 and 180s may work really closest with the market boards, while these 1 pences do not, as these 1 pences are most likely doing this to sell inventory and get it out, because it is still better usually to sell on the market board for cheap than sell to a regular NPC. And that can be especially honest for certain goods, as these would be a lot more highly valued or harder to find, especially for like things that are hard to find in starter areas. You see a large markup on them, as a lot of people can't buy them at the beginning and they can't get to them, so a lot of people will buy from those areas and sell, which is what's really important here. But the other problem is, when you sell on the market board, the buyer cannot decide how much they buy. As the person who wants to sell decides the quantity they want to sell it for and the price. So you're gonna sell for this much and at this quantity. So you will have to pay the total amount, which means sometimes, especially as a buyer, it is cheaper to buy something at a higher individual cost, but not because it is just instead of lower, because the amount that's being sold for those higher individually costs, or just, and you don't need that much, will come out as a little bit more. For instance, you can buy 50 quantities of this for 784, or you can buy 5 for 790. Yeah, you define pins markup, but you can do it, and it sometimes will be better. Or so that's a lot of the choices, and you have to be careful with that as well. Buy and look and sell is a really important part of this game, especially when you're looking at the interactions between classes. Interactions between these two are so important in the game and can help us view us inside, because one of these is pretty much a wall supplier and the other is a factory. Is like a factory or a producer where they're changing the wall materials into it. And how these interact with the consumer, which is mostly the discipline of war and magics, are important and what we need to really focus on if we're going to use video games to study how economics works. It's also easier for humans' decisions to be made here, as money is a lot more free, so you will see a little bit difference because of how free money is and how little effect it has on the real world. But with how serious people take this game, especially at higher levels, this can be this interaction and why this is happening is really important and what we should be looking at as we want to study how economics in games can reflect real life economics, which is why I want to now thank you all for listening to my economics things to this talk. If you have any questions, come ask me. I do have a lot of more data I collected that I didn't get to put in, but if you want to see it, you can come ask me later. Okay, Austin is signing off.